Recently, we have begun to consider different causes of the American Revolution. We've looked at economic concerns such as taxes, and we've also seen political concerns such as representation. This lesson looks at how religious matters also led some Americans to distrust London. Now, freedom of religion was one of the rallying cries of the colonies, but the truth is a bit more complicated. Protestant denominations were greatly favored over Catholicism, and Christianity was favored over any other religion. The different regions of the 13 colonies had particular religious organization and habits. The New England colonies tended to favor the Congregational church. These colonies include Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Now, the Congregational church was a church that did not include a bishop. Rather, each congregation decided its own rules for itself. Only Rhode Island did not adopt the Congregational church as its official church. The middle colonies tended to be more diverse. These included Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. In the middle colonies, you could find Quakers and Amish, Mennonites and Lutherans, Moravians, Presbyterians, and Catholics. No official denomination was claimed by any of these colonies. The southern colonies were a little bit different. These included Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. These colonies greatly favored and established the Church of England as the official churches. Now, the Church of England was also the official church of the British Empire. Its headquarters were in London. Many of its leaders sat in Parliament in the House of Lords. Only Georgia did not establish the Church of England, but like all the other southern colonies, most Georgians, and certainly those in power, were Anglican. The Caribbean colonies were also Anglican. Canada, which had been formerly French, was mostly Catholic. Now, there were some dominant strains. These dominant strains of the church in the colonies greatly favored two opposing poles. In New England, the churches did not want a bishop. The Congregational churches didn't require a bishop. Meanwhile, the southern colonies preferred a bishop because the Church of England was built so that only a bishop could accomplish certain things. For example, if a church was built by a Church of England congregation, only a bishop could sanctify that church and declare it holy. Also, often a bishop was required to make someone a priest, or a bishop was also required if a child was baptized. In fact, during the American Revolution and in the period before the American Revolution, if someone wanted to become officially a priest of the Church of England, they often had to take a ship back to England and then become ordained over there, and then find their way back to the colonies where they could be an official priest of the Church of England. Sometimes those ship passages did not end well. So there was a clamor in the southern colonies for a resident bishop in North America. A resident bishop would help them overcome many of the difficulties of their church. Meanwhile, the New Englanders were particularly fearful of a bishop. If a bishop came to New England, they thought, it would radically change the Congregational churches, which had been established to avoid the Church of England. Also, in the Church of England, bishops were lords. They sat in Parliament in the House of Lords. And lords often raised taxes. In order for a lord to live in a palace, the taxes had to be raised for that building. Also, a lord's wardrobe and even his feast and the people that worked for him, all of this was paid by taxes. New Englanders feared that not only would their church suffer, but their taxes would go up if a British lord came to the colonies. But if a British lord came to the colonies, they almost certainly would be placed in either Philadelphia or Boston, because those were the most populous regions and the most important cities. They would not be placed in the southern colonies. So what ended up happening was a bit of a dispute between the New England colonies, which did not want a bishop, and the southern colonies, which did. Now, interestingly, Parliament agreed with the New England colonies. They thought that putting a bishop in North America would agitate too much, and so they were resigned to not install a bishop. But the issue came up initially in the 1720s, and then it was raised again in the 1740s, and then the 50s, and then the 60s, and even in the 70s. By the 1770s, the South continued to call for a bishop, and New Englanders continued to fear a bishop. My main point is this. As the Revolution was approaching, British the British had begun impinging on New Englanders and their economic and political rights, but they also feared that their religious freedoms were threatened as well.